Alright, what's up, guys? We've got the season review on Hana. I just abbreviated that for short because it has such a long name, a long title. So basically, Hana is basically about a girl named Menma who ended up dying a couple years back, and basically now the whole story or the plot is basically around Jintan, who can see the girl Menma who basically died when they were kids. He's the only one that could see her, feel her, you know, etc. Talk with her. He's the only one that could hear her voice. And basically, well, what for one thing, what I didn't understand in the first couple episodes is why, if she was a ghost or if she came back, they never really clarified if she was a ghost or spirit or something. They didn't really clarify that. They just put it out there as she came back. Uh, but they never really gave any information as to why he was able to, he was able to touch her, as if she was human and feel her and basically, grab her hand, run around, and basically do all these activities. I never really got why he was able to actually touch her like she was actually human when she died. So that I really didn't understand it in a couple episodes, and then I just I stopped wondering why he's able to touch her. I was just like, fuck it, it doesn't matter. Uh, so basically, the plot was that Jintan had to figure out Menma's wish because her wish would set her free to go to heaven. All right, so that's basically the general plot. There's gonna be there was something behind that plot, but that was the general plot. And basically, Jintan didn't went to high school for a couple of days or a couple of months, and then uh, quit or stopped going to high school. He didn't really withdraw, or he didn't really take his name out of high school. He just stopped going there. So everyone kind of forgot about him. He had his friend Yukiatsu and Tsuruko, who were really smart, who are really really smart, and they go to a different high school. Excuse me. And basically, his whole crew, all of his friends from when they were young, are all now in high school, and they all go separate high schools. There's a guy named Popo. He stopped going to high school, and he's traveling around. Anaru ended up going to the same high school as Jintan. Tsuruko and Yukiatsu ended up going to the same high school. And Jintan basically didn't go to a high school. I mean, he did, but he stopped and stayed home all day. Menma came back to life and is now living with Jintan. He's the only one that could see her. Okay? So that's basically the characters, the main characters. And throughout the story, he has to basically try and grant her wish, or try to figure out what her wish is. Now, in the beginning episodes, first 6 episodes or so, the story sets itself into place. I think it does a really good job with it. You're able to see Jintan basically hate, and he calls her the summer beast because she's ruining his summer. He didn't really like it that she was there and everything like that, because I guess it brought back bad memories of when she died. And then a couple episodes later, after the first ep, uh, he basically actually starts trying to figure out what her wish is. He ends up going to one day of high school, but he ends up returning back home. He doesn't even get to the class. He's walking there, and then Anaru's friends are basically with her, and he walks by them, and she stops him and asks him, are you coming to school? And they start making fun of him, and he gets a little mad, and then he walks off and doesn't go to school. So he never really actually does go to school. You never see him in class. I think he goes once or twice. I think that was when Anaru was being accused of, I think, having sex. I think it was what it was, or being someone who would, or being a slut or something like that. She was being accused of something in that area, and that was the one day he came to school and basically defended her, I guess. Other than that, you don't really see him at school. Excuse me. And then, basically, things start getting into place. The whole group actually starts to see what they think is Menma, and basically, it's basically Yukiatsu, the smart one in the entire group. When I say smart, I mean he's actually good with school and classes and everything, but he kind of had an obsession. This guy was obsessed with Menma, and he ended up dressing like her because he was jealous of Jintan, of how he was the only one to see her, because everyone at that time believed that he's able to see and talk with Menma, because they went to the secret base, and Menma ended up picking up a book and started writing with them. And the book was in midair, so you can't really tell that someone's tricking them midair, and it's writing, "Hi guys, how are you? How have you been? Blah blah blah." So everyone believed him that Menma was there as a ghost. So then later on, he ends up dressing as Menma and running around trying to fool everybody, and they find out that he had an obsession with Menma and loved Menma. So after all that drama goes by and everything, they all get together and actually try and figure out her wish. So they think that the wish is to set a huge firework, but I guess it's in rocket shape. So I guess it's like a rocket ship, but it's fireworks, so it blasts into the air, then explodes into little mini fireworks. So they basically all work together and get that set up. And once it launches, the episode ends, and you have to wait till next week. So Jinten, turns around slowly, thinking Menma's gone because that was her wish. But she was still there. So even I was a little shocked. Why wasn't she gone? Wasn't that her wish? So basically, the story writers had another wish hidden. And basically, this goes back into the past, because now you're able. It goes back to the past when Menma is talking with Jintan's mom, and his mom is about to die. So basically, he's living with his dad, and his mom had passed away. So Menma, when she was a kid before she died, was talking with his mom. And his mom said that she wishes that Jintan would cry because it seemed like he was holding a lot of emotions in. She hasn't seen him laugh or have a normal, or she wants him to laugh, have a normal life, cry. She hasn't seen him like get rid of all that emotion that he's suppressed inside. So Menma ends up saying, okay, I promise I will make Jintan cry. And she doesn't mean cry as in a bully way. She means like he'll get all that emotion out of him, of all the problems that he's been having, his mom in the hospital and everything. So he doesn't really cry when he's a kid. His mother ends up passing away. Menma dies, and now we're back in the future, and they're trying to grant her wish. So basically, she remembers her wish, and when she starts to remember her wish, she starts to fade. Basically, her hand starts to go through stuff, go through like a table, but it doesn't really necessarily go through. She just loses control of her hand. Sorry about that. I'm a little sick, but she starts to lose control of her hand. Her hand falls on the ground, and basically on the other side of the story, everyone is basically at the I think in front of a shrine or something, and everyone starts confessing their hidden desires, because everyone never wasn't what's the word? Everyone wasn't really focusing on Menma's wish. They all had hidden desires inside. Yukiatsu, the smart guy, the one who was jealous of Jintan, the one who was obsessed with Menma, he wanted to set Menma free and send her to heaven, so Jintan wouldn't get Menma, because he wanted Menma, but Jintan was the only one that could see Menma. So Yukiatsu wanted Menma to go to heaven, so Jintan wouldn't get her. Yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Although she was a ghost, so I don't really see how you could get her. But and then Anaru, the redhead, she was basically in love with Jintan, and she wanted to set Menma free so that she could have a chance with Jintan. And then Tsuruko, who was the girl that goes to the same high school as Yukiatsu, she liked Yukiatsu, but Yukiatsu she didn't really like. She was in love with him, just like Anaru was in love with Jintan. Tsuruko was in love with Yukiatsu, but Yukiatsu had an obsession with Menma. So she wanted to set Menma free and send her to heaven, so Anaru could get with Jintan and then she would be next in line to get to Yukiatsu because Yukiatsu ended up asking Anaru out, but Anaru declined him. So really, everyone had their own desires, and if you look at it, it's really fucked up that everyone had their own evil intentions of using their best friend who's dead now and is a ghost as a little stepping stone to get what they want. And then Popo, the funny guy, Popo was someone who I liked the entire show. He was funny. He was cheerful. He was a good guy to actually watch. But what seriously happened to him was when Menma died when they were kids, and because basically she ran out of their Super Peace Busters uh, group building. I guess they created or they found a little small hut or something, and they basically ended up using it as their meeting. So she ran out of that chasing Jintan because he ran out. I guess she slipped on a rock and fell into a river, and I guess her head cracked or something, and she died. And Popo ran down trying to look for her, and he saw her going down the river dead. So that image didn't really leave Popo. So he ended up, crying and letting out his emotions. And everyone tells Jintan to go back and get Menma because Menma is basically somewhere. She was basically at Jintan's house sleeping, and Yukiatsu says, you gotta bring Menma back. So he runs back, and she's already fading, and she tells him she remembered her wish, and her wish was to make you cry because that's what she promised with his mom. So he lifts her up and takes her back to takes her back to the group. The group sees her. Well, she doesn't. They don't really see her because she disappears. Jintan isn't able to see her anymore, and they all run outside yelling her name, and they find a bunch of letters on the ground, and it basically says something about everyone. For like example, Popo said, "I love how funny you are." For Anaru, it said, "I love how level-headed you are." So it said, I love you for a certain aspect for every other character. Then for Jintan, it says, I love you with the kind of love that I would marry you, something like that. Basically, she said, I love you and I would marry you if I could. So then, that's really the end of it. What I really would have wanted was another episode to basically see their future. You're able to see that they're still going to high school. You're able to see Yukiatsu trying to get in a good relationship with Tsukuro, and Jintan with Anaru. So I guess basically you can see that they're trying to hook up. But I think it would have been better if they sped it along into the future, and maybe possibly I wouldn't say it might have been the best idea, but show them a little older, see what's going on at that time. But otherwise, I'd say this anime ran beautifully, had a really wonderful series, and I think every episode kept me on my knees, and it really just there wasn't one episode where I was completely bored of it. There was always something new, and I really enjoyed that. This anime was one of the greatest that I'll probably end up remembering because it was so deep. Kind of reminded me of Clannad or something like that, or Canon. But that's really about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Remember to subscribe.